damn it, Becky, why'd you drop this bag of fucking marshmallows?
God.
Who thought there'd be a curve out here in the middle of the woods?
If she can find it, mountains, wood.
What was that?
I heard out in the woods there's something out here.
Yeah, it's some kind of cryptid, right?
Yeah. I think it's pronounced cryptig.
Cryptig, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
It smells very flamboyant right now.
It's not a Bigfoot. It's a...
I think it's...
Sassyquatch.
Hello and welcome to this edition of Nature Amongst Us.
What?
Oh, sorry. This
Welcome to the Nature Planet show where we talk about nature.
Y'all sounded like the female Bob Ross.
I was about to say, I think it was like those girls who talk about sweaty balls.
And that's a hat. What?
The SNL skit,
Yeah,
sweaty balls.
sweaty balls.
That's before my time.
Why don't you you can actually introduce our real podcast, Angie?
Yes. So we're actually going to be talking about cryptozoology today.
It's called TheFreeRotation.
So you mean announce the podcast? This is the Free Rotation. I'm Angie and I'm joined by Becky.
Hi.
And Becky with the good hair.
Bobbles.
Better known as Bobby or Bibby.
Or Bibbidi Bobbidi.
Boo.
Okay, that's Dragon Con. That's Bobby's cosplaying.
Bobby's gonna cosplay as a fairy
Bibbidi
godmother.
Bobbidi.
No, I already figured it out. My friend Blaze and I were going to go as Adam West, Batman, and Robin.
Oh.
Yeah.
And you're Batman, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
I already spent the $200 on the costume.
Nice.
Sweet.
Yeah. So.
I decided what I'm going as.
What?
I forgot already. Remember, I was like, oh, I could totally cosplay that.
Was it a Leak character?
I don't remember.
But
no, it was that Lavinia.
Oh, yeah, Lavinia.
Or I had a thought today. I'm going to go as a character from the OA and just suddenly start doing the OA dance.
Speaking of cryptids, that's how I transitioned your stuff. Speaking of cryptids.
Yeah. Okay. So, Bobby, do you know what the definition of cryptozoology is?
I mean, not normally, but I actually have it on a piece of paper in front of me. So
And what is your brain tell you it is?
it's the study of spoopy monsters and unknown animal types.
Mm-hmm.
I would say it is a pseudoscience that studies creatures that have not yet been discovered by actual scientists.
Right. So there's like documented evidence of people who've met them, run into them, but scientifically they can't be proven to exist.
Right.
So cryptozoology is
This is the episode where Angie can't pronounce cryptozoology.
Cryptozoology is on the scale of like paranormal sciences and
Ufology.
Yeah,
ufology.
ufology.
Is it pronounced ufology?
That sounds way better than UFOlogy.
Yeah, ufology.
ufology. Ology. That's like when you fall off a curb and trying to say it.
Thanks, honey.
Or a mountainside.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Those Pokemon stay in that gym quite a while.
They're cryptids too.
The Pokemon are?
I mean, yeah, I can consider Pokemon
yeah.
in a way.
Yeah.
This is just IRL Pokemon hunting.
Holy shit.
I'm so smart.
Mm-hmm.
Cryptozoology.
Yeah.
Okay, continue.
Well, crypto from Greek means hide. So they're hidden among us. Kind of like when you think of Bigfoot. Some people have seen them, had run-ins, but you're never quite sure because even when they're caught in pictures on camera, you still are hesitant to believe it.
Right.
So that's what cryptozoology means. They're hidden.
Well, a lot of times the problem is where we have people who take advantage of the trust and will of good people and allegedly make these hoax or pictures that are fake to be or to believe to be like a cryptid, and then later it's found to be like a big hoax that they've created.
Yeah. Like, I never saw that Bigfoot.
Right. Or maybe the government's just paying them off to say that it's all a hoax, so they can't say that it's actual existence.
Right.
Kind of like ufology.
Well, because we do know that the military has a UFO meeting plan in place. So, and you're taught in basic training, if you come in contact with extraterrestrials, what do? You usually run and tell someone else is the answer. What happens when a soldier meets a Martian soldier?
No, there's actually a really interesting thing. How astronauts are supposed to deal with, like, if they see an unidentified flying object, they don't call it that. I forget what they call it, but they call it something else. So when it's broadcast through NASA and everything, it doesn't, like, say archives. It's something else.
It's smart because they don't want news outlets to be able to say, hey, they said we've just come across a extraterrestrial or an unidentified flying object. They'll say, like, there's a bird out in the moon. I don't know how that happened.
Or there's an unknown plane, an unknown, aircraft approaching.
I hope we get visited soon. I'm excited for the anal probing.
I'm pretty sure we have already been visited. Peace treaties have been made.
Probably.
One of them's the president. Like, I don't know for a fact.
I mean, he does look like an orange lizard. So.
I mean, a cryptid. He's a cryptid.
I guess reptilians, by definitions, are cryptids.
There's a lizard man on this list that I found, by the way.
Did it have a picture of Trump next to it?
No. But apparently there is, like, 10 umbrella types listed for what a cryptozoological... These words are hard today.
They're really big.
Yeah.
Cryptozoologists define the classic 10 types of animals.
Okay, you go.
No, I was just saying.
Oh, yeah. You read it, because
I
can't...
had to pronounce very carefully.
Yeah, you read the hard words.
Cryptozoological umbrella. Are you turned on?
This entire episode is just going to be us trying to say the word.
Kind of like Scoob's Norris episode. Distribution anomalies. Known animals reported outside their normal range is a cryptid. So if we suddenly had a polar bear, like, pop up out of the lake at West Point and say, hi.
Yeah.
How you doing?
It'd be really random.
Well, all you have to do is give it a Coke and it'll be happy.
Yeah, see Santa Claus.
A Coke and some salmon. Or undescribed, unusual, or outsized variation of known species, i.e. the giant anaconda, like Bobby's penis, and Moreland's.
At least you're throwing them some.
My anaconda don't. My anaconda don't.
Is that what also would be considered like a giant squid, or is that not considered?
Yeah, giant squid. Also, people used to think ligers were cryptids.
Oh yeah, because you didn't see them in the wild.
Right, and then suddenly there was a liger. They bred lions and tigers. Found out, oh hey, these two can become a thing.
Are they, like, genetically superior, or are they just, like, kind of, like, sad and depressing?
No, they're like...
I think it's, like, almost inbred, almost.
Yeah,
like,
they're
it's
like
an opposite.
Chromosomal. They're think of, like, a mentally retarded human. That's what a liger is.
That's depressing.
Yeah. Or surveys of recently extinct species.
Survivals. Why don't you say that again?
I was like, why would they survey them? I get to see them out there with, like, their little survey equipment. Like...
I want you to know this was Bobby's portion of the notes, too, so good luck.
Survivals of recently extinct species, e.g. the ivory-billed woodpecker presumed extinct. The Tasmanian tiger, blah, blah. There was recently an animal that they thought was extinct that popped back. Oh, those dogs we saw at that zoo.
Yeah.
The singing
They
hounds.
were the singing hounds or singing dogs or whatever.
Yeah.
More like screeching dogs. They were they screeched at you more than anything.
They were singing, Becky. But they can reach like 5 octaves. They can go really low to like barely heard. Survivals of species known only from the fossil record into modern times.
The Mokili, some of these words. The living dinosaur. That's weird. Okay, we got to talk about the living dinosaur a little bit in a little bit.
We're going to talk about the living dinosaur in a little bit.
Yeah.
Sweet. I like how loquacious you are.
Thanks.
Eloquent. Lingerlings, or survivals of species known from the fossil record much later into historical times than currently thought. Like the woolly mammoth. I remember they recently found one that died pretty much like when people came over here.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that what they said with the woolly mammoth, it was a creature that existed around the time in which...
Yeah, with people.
It
was here with people.
I think they even said that they thought that it had traveled across. You remember the peninsula that used to connect Alaska to the
bridge.
The bridge, yeah. That was also part of it.
Mm-hmm. Animals not known from the fossil record nor related to any known species, like the North America's Bigfoot and most sea serpents.
Interesting.
Mythical creatures with a zoological basis, e.g. the griffin, partly inspired by dinosaur fossils of Central Asia. Seemingly paranormal or supernatural entities with some animal-like characteristics, like the Mothman, black dogs, and some fairies from folklore. Or known hoaxes or probable misidentifications like the jackalope.
Yeah.
And then the sea monkey thing where the guy had like in a jar and had like half of a fish, half of a monkey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I looked this all up. I was like, holy shit, there's a lot of categories.
They really encompass, really, the definition should be things that have not been discovered and or we believe don't exist anymore, but still do. That's really the overarching theme of cryptozoology.
Like the Jersey Devil, there's been a lot of reported run-ins and sightings of the Jersey Devil, but people still argue he doesn't exist because they're not captured. Well, and even more recently, the dragons that have been caught flying in Asia, that people still argue like it's not a dragon. Well, then, what the fuck is it?
Now, question: Are they like Game of Thrones sized dragons, or
No,
they're like wyverns?
They're enormous.
That's terrifying.
You know the steps up in Asia that you can walk up to get to the temples up top?
Yeah.
Well, along the way, you stop and take pictures, and they look out over the enormous thing. So some people, especially on Mount Fuji, when you go up, it's they call it the Sea of Trees, and then you can stop and take pictures. Well, out in the distance is Mount Fuji, and flying in the clouds and stuff is this dragon. And to be as large as it was from that distance, it had to be enormous.
Fuck that.
And it looked just like a dragon. It isn't like somebody could be flying a drone that looks like it.
See, all they had to do was watch How to Train Your Dragon to find out where the hidden world went.
That's what I'm saying.
Is this gonna turn into Rain of Fire, or I'm gonna turn shave my head and turn to Matthew McConaughey and like jump at dragons and stab them in the throat?
That would be kind of scary, but sure.
And you know what? People who argue about the existence of cryptids don't realize that the Bible they beat you in the face with talks about a lot of cryptids.
Unicorns.
Dragons are mentioned. Unicorns, the Kraken, a.k.a. the Leviathan. Like, these things are talked about in the Bible.
Yeah.
And the griffins mentioned and the manticore. All these things are in the Bible.
Well, there was also a discussion about what is considered...
No, I'm good. The cryptid got me.
Yeah. What is considered a cryptid versus what is considered a legendary creature. So the idea that a Kraken, which has some witness accounts throughout history, would be considered a cryptid because they're not a verified existing creature, but there have been enough sightings and or stories about them that they've kind of been put into the existence in our own real life versus like something like Cthulhu, which is more considered a legendary mythological creature that exists. So a lot of this is interesting because you're kind of blurring the lines between what can be considered as part of mythology versus what can be considered as part of something that might actually exist.
Well, a lot of time mythology has roots in reality, so
Right. Well,
it just depends.
Like if they ever talk about the mythos of something, like the creation mythos or something like that, mythos itself does not necessarily mean it's not a real thing. It just means there's a story behind it that has led to like, I think it's almost like a moral almost sometimes.
Well, in the legend of elder gods that will arise and eat the world, this legend goes back even before, like what we know now as our pagan religions.
Yeah.
Well before Christianity.
Well, even in Christianity, they say the Leviathan, which
will eat the world.
Will eat the world.
So, and that's another thing that bothers me about the Bible is the world's going to end in fire. Well, your same Bible says the world's going to be swallowed by the Leviathan.
Right.
Yeah.
Which, is arguably Cthulhu.
Yeah.
He's going to wake from the depths and he's going to swallow us. Which could also mean reptilians, by the way. I'm just going to point that out.
Fish people, yep, whole thing.
It's Aquaman.
Which, mermaids and fish people, there's been a lot more sightings recently before Aquaman and all that craze came out. But even up on beaches, these things are getting washed up and maybe they're created.
Now, question with as real as they can get when it comes to mer people, are there like Little Mermaid where it's like nice upper half, fish bottom, where it's like they're gross looking?
They're scary. They're like the original mermaids where they have pointy fang teeth.
Kind of like when you see
And
the
their
ones you see in
skin
Harry
is-
Potter.
Well-
Yes, exactly. That's what they look like.
Well, I guess I could put a paper bag over the head and turn it over. I mean, it's the same thing, right?
I would wonder how you would do that, Bobby, considering its bottom portion is a fin.
I mean, they
But
gotta
if
have.
it's a fish, And then if you
They got a hole somewhere.
underside, there's gonna be a hole.
I feel like
But remember, fish poop and pee from the same hole.
I'll wear a condom.
Oh, okay. Well,
at least he's not like actually breeding from a different species of people. So
We don't want that. So what's this Altalahamaha? What does this thing look like?
oh man, so I found a list of just okay. So everybody knows Bigfoot, which we're gonna have a Bigfoot episode. So that's why we're not discussing Bigfoot because we're going to the Georgia Bigfoot Conference on the 26th. So we'll have a whole episode about Bigfoot. Angie's favorite subject, which is Bigfoot. Although we do talk a little bit about some of the famous Bigfoots that are around our area.
yeah. So is it Bigfoots or Big Feet? Sasquatch.
Yes,
or Sasquatch.
I think it's Bigfoots because Bigfoot's the name. I think
Yeah.
Big Feet would be like they also have big feet though. So Bigfoot has big feet.
That's the name of the episode. Bigfoots have big feet.
I
Actually,
like-
that's the Georgia Bigfoot episode.
Yeah.
But so I decided I was going to just check it out because honestly, I don't know a lot about cryptids. I only hear what Angie talks about because she loves Sasquatch stories and all of that.
and the Mothman
And chupacabras.
chupacabras, Tasmanian devil, like all these wonderful, and the smelly guy from Florida.
Oh, yeah, he's on this list.
Oh, okay, and the
Oh,
one
skunky.
from South Carolina.
Yes,
too?
I did.
Oh,
I put him
okay.
on here. So there's a couple of them. So the first one that caught my attention, as we do live in Georgia, is called the Altamahaha.
What's funny? No,
It sounds like the worst version of Kamehameha.
that's a chichi ha.
It really is. This is something.
Altamahaha.
This is clearly somebody who lives in the South naming this.
Yeah.
So what it was a legendary creature that allegedly inhabits small streams and abandoned rice fields near the mouth of the Altamaha River near Darien in McIntosh County.
What does it look like?
So apparently it looks like Loch Ness.
Oh, but smaller.
Yes, but so the legend has that it's a Muskogee tradition, like the Native Americans talked about the sea serpent that existed in the rivers. However, some also report that the origins is due to the Scottish Highlanders who arrived in Georgia in the 1700s, creating their own Loch Ness monster. Because if you come here and there's no awesome ass monster living in a lake, you create your own.
True.
You know what else is weird about that though? Talking about the Scottish folks and stuff. Georgia is also Georgia, Michigan, and some other places on the Upper East Coast are known for the fact that we have our own
Lake monster.
lake monsters, but also the rocks with the worshipy thing.
The guided stones.
Stone-
Oh yeah.
But there's also other hinges around here.
Right.
There's pyramids and hinges that just predate history, and it runs along the ley lines. And Georgia has one of the most prolific ones because it comes through the Bermuda Triangle and runs through us. Also, if you follow tornado lines and the way tornadoes move, it's along the ley line, and it's also along the line of the hinges and the pyramids.
Right. Which would explain why you have a lot more supernatural things that occur
Right.
in these areas.
And you think about this creature, maybe he really is here,
Yeah.
and maybe they have something to do. One has to do with the other.
Well, a legend has it that maybe it was mistaken as an alligator gar. I don't know what an alligator gar is exactly.
Sounds like
The,
the alligator's
The
drunk
cryptid
cousin.
that stands up on two legs.
Maybe.
The alligator that supposedly walks.
I don't know, but that's what they said it could have been mistaken for.
That sounds fucking terrifying.
It
No, they are. There's supposedly people have seen like the alligators. They have short, stumpy legs.
Yeah,
But some of them get up right on their feet, and they have like a different kind of shaped face.
that's scary.
Yeah.
So then the other one I found talking about it, I texted Angie immediately because I was like, I didn't even think about it, is the Kraken. The Kraken had one of my favorite stories, and I mentioned that Alfred Lord Tennyson, or is it Alfred Lord Tennyson?
Lord Alfred Tennyson.
Okay. He wrote a poem called The Kraken. So one of the funniest stories I've ever heard is why people call it Kraken versus Kraken. Because if you read the poem, it talks about the Kraken has awakened. So why would you say the Kraken has a whackin'? It doesn't rhyme correctly.
Yeah.
Yeah, but let's talk about masturbation at that point.
Well, yeah. But the Kraken was, if you want to take,
I'm sure it's Kraken.
it's probably Kraken, but
Yeah.
Kraken just sounds scarier. What's crack-a-lackin'?
If he rose up out of the depths and was like, "Hey, what's crack-a-lackin'?" Or he could be like, "What's Kraken bacon?" Like,
Oh my
That'd
gosh.
"What's
be
shaking
great.
bacon?
What's
It's the
shaking?
Kraken."
But the Kraken is the legendary cephalopod? Is that a
Yeah.
word? Cephalopod.
Cephalopod.
This entire episode is just trying to pronounce words. Sea monster from Scandinavian folklore. Spoiler alert, I did not know it was a Scandinavian thing. According to the Norse sagas, the Kraken resides off the coast of Norway and Greenland and terrorizes nearby sailors. It's also been the focus of many superstitious sailors passing the North Atlantic and those within the Nordic countries. And some attribute that sightings that may actually be the giant squids, which I did not realize grow to be 40 to 50 feet in length. So think about it. Back in the day, your boat wasn't very big. You didn't have huge-ass boats. They probably were about 50 to 100 feet. And then suddenly you see this big-ass squid coming out of nowhere that's like, bleh,
Yeah, it's bigger than a fucking school bus.
I know.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. But, at the time, giant squids were considered also a non-existent thing.
And that's been within the last, 25 years that those have been proven to exist.
Yeah.
It washed up on the shore, and people are like, oh, I guess giant squids do exist. So when you think about cryptids, remember, giant squids were cryptids until very, very recently.
Yeah. Go ahead.
That's a lot of calamari.
I know. I was thinking, though, it's weird because that was, wasn't Moby Dick also kind of based on the idea of a giant squid as well? I know it talks about the white whale, but it also talks about giant squids as well.
Yeah, because a white whale is kind of a euphemism for, what you're chasing in life.
Yeah.
The larger-than-life thing.
But the Kraken, interesting enough, was included in the first edition of the Systema Naturae in 1735, which was published by Carl von Linné. However, the Kraken has appeared in pop culture, most notably in Alfred Tennyson's irregular sonnet, The Kraken. But the reason why they end up taking out of the Systema Naturae is because they can't prove its existence. It's another thing about cryptozoology. They can't prove that it actually exists. It's only based on stories that have been told by other sailors.
And I would like to put in perspective why the giant squid and the kraken are so scary. It's because scientists today, they do IQ tests on all sorts of animals to determine how smart they are. And one of the reasons why I refuse anymore to eat squid or any sort of octopus or creature like that is because they're proven to be smarter than people. Dolphins, octopus, and squid are smarter than us. I'm not going to eat something that's smarter than me,
Fair.
especially since squid and octopus are they kind of, and also dolphins are kind of linked to a hive mind. So if you screw one over, it's just like screwing over a crow. The whole pack of crows know you.
Speaking of something like that, I'm going on a cruise in a couple weeks, and one of the things is you can swim with dolphins. And my dad's like, "You want to do that?" I'm like, "No, they're fucking smarter than me."
I know.
No!
They
Yeah.
can suffocate you. If they decide to
And
freak
then
out on
no.
you.
If he takes a liking to you, he's just gonna rape you.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah.
I'll throw the biscuits over the side. They can have them.
Yeah.
I'm not getting near them. Sorry.
I don't blame you though, because the idea of being you never want to. Every human thinks they're smarter than every other creature in existence, and it's just not true.
Oh no.
Just because they haven't evolved to the point where they can walk and talk in what we understand.
or just evolved to the point where people are so dichotomous. We have a good and an evil nature. Like we really do. We're constantly at war with ourselves. Our brains oppose each other. The different sides of our brain literally oppose each other. We have a feral back of our brain. We're just meant to be hellraisers. Other animals aren't burdened with that. Think of the jellyfish. He lives forever.
Yeah.
A jellyfish is immortal until people pretty much kill them.
Yeah. Or they wash up on the sea.
Yeah.
I got stung by a jellyfish once. I had a pee on my leg. No, it stops that.
I know. Yeah, my brother got stung when we were little, and somebody I don't know how they fixed it. I'm just gonna assume I don't know if they peed on his leg at the time, but then somebody had said you can pee on his leg. I don't think anybody peed on him because first off he's autistic, and I don't think he'd understand why somebody peed on him.
Yes.
But it is the way to fix it. So
it worked.
This is a survival 101 as well, people.
I was reading this one thing that says that actually doesn't work,
Oh.
but I don't know.
Bobby just peed on himself to pee on himself.
Whoa! Just because I like self golden showers doesn't mean you can fucking judge me, Becky.
My bad.
Listen,
Sorry.
Bear Grylls, we need to move on.
I'm kidding. Sorry.
I will say though, it is interesting if you look at
What's his name? Bear Grylls.
Bear Grylls.
Bear
Grylls.
Grill.
Yeah. It is interesting though, like D&D, how they have the mind flayer, and it's kind of the similar thing. They look like squid, and they all have a hive mind.
Yeah.
So that's just my.
Oh, or on the OA where the old knight talks to her.
Yeah.
And knows everything, and he's trying to. Well, you guys haven't watched OA.
No.
Well,
we haven't watched it, but
spoiler alert.
somebody hasn't watched the new episode of Game of Thrones, so.
No, I don't. I'll forget about OA.
Y'all don't watch OA anyway.
Don't be rude about Game of Thrones, okay? Game of Thrones
Just
is
saying.
special.
Game of Thrones. I might be playing a game of Porcelain Throne later.
Dun-dun-dun.
The final countdown. Okay, so then after that, I decided to go a little further into the abyss, and apparently the Jersey Devil is also considered a cryptid. So if you don't know what the Jersey Devil is, I don't know
Mhm.
where you live.
Which he's interesting because he's got supernatural origins.
Right. It's kind of a mythological creature / cryptid. So here's what it is. The legendary creature is said to inhabit the Pine Barrens of South New Jersey. I tried to keep it more so like our local / like United States, just because this is where we are. There's some, also because I couldn't pronounce half of the words that come out of other countries. So this is why a lot of them are in the United States. The creature was described as a flying biped with hooves, with common descriptions being a creature with goat horse-like head, with bat-like wings, horns, cloven hooves, and a forked tail. So the legend has it that Mother Leeds had 12 children, and after finding out she was pregnant with the 13th child, she offered the child to the devil, or in some variations, she cursed the child, calling it the devil because it was the 13th child. And on a stormy night, the child was born normally but changed into the creature of today. And as like many of these stories, there have been many eyewitness sightings of the Jersey Devil.
Mm-hmm. And there's other variants of that story. Some of like the more obscure stories will say that she was raped by the devil, and when she was raped by her pastor, and the devil took advantage of it, and the child was actually born looking like that, and she was so horrified she threw him out into the woods.
Yeah.
And he was basically raised by the wood creatures and the devil, so she would go out every once in a while and see him, but that's why he would wreak havoc, because he didn't grow up.
Right.
He wasn't raised right.
Right. And then there's another one, was that she was a witch, and she fully planned to have the 13th devil
That
child.
makes more sense to me, the witch bit.
And but she couldn't handle him, and the devil came and took him from her.
Yeah.
But he then he ended up coming back to his mom, which Bad Ben and Batter Ben are based off of the Jersey Devil.
Yeah. Interesting movies.
Funny. Unintentionally funny movies.
But the Jersey Devil is one of those that everybody kind of knows the story at this point, but it's, the thing is that people will go out in the woods and they'll see this creature that's flying overhead, and you can go out into the Pine Barrens, and if you stay out there during the night, you have a chance of running into the Jersey Devil, which apparently lives up in the treetops, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
But
let's do it.
Well,
I'd love to.
Another mythos about the Jersey Devil I guess origin story, is the Jersey Devil. Remember I told you kept coming back to Mama Leeds? Well, when he came back one time, he came back and he raped her, and the spawn of that union was the Mothman.
Which is my next one I'm going to talk about.
But so that's an interesting origin story for the Mothman.
Yeah.
Although the Mothman actually predates
the Jersey Devil.
stories.
So if you don't know what the Mothman is, once again, and you're like starting to...
There's a Richard Gere movie.
It's a good Richard Gere movie.
It
It
is.
actually was pretty scary.
Yeah.
When the Mothman pops down upside down in that tree in front of that woman's face with his red eyes and hisses at her, I shit my pants.
The phone calls what fucked with me in that movie.
Oh man.
The Fallout, the MMORPG that came out that I can't remember the name of because nobody plays it anymore. If you go throughout certain places, there's a lot of urban legends stories that are up in the West Virginia hills, and one of them is that you can run into Mothman in the game.
Oh. And you know what? Even in real life, a lot of people see the Mothman. It's still reported, if you're out riding your bike at night, sometimes the Mothman will fly over you. He likes to fly over cars.
If you're taking your dog out to use the restroom and somebody shakes a tree, it's not the Mothman.
Yes, it is. I will argue this. If you're in Georgia and a tree rattles, it's the Mothman. Get you and the dog inside. Let me tell you, the dog is just as intent to get back inside as I am. And when the dog is like, you know what? It's fucked out here. We got to go inside. I'm not arguing with the dog.
That's why when I have to take Gus or Coco out late at night, I've got the crowbar with me.
You gotta bring it.
That's right.
Or the shovel.
And some holy water.
That doesn't
That's
work
right.
against cryptids.
Well, just in case you run into a demon.
Well, no, I got my little thingy now.
That's true. But if you don't know what the Mothman is, it was a creature that was sighted in Point Pleasant, West Virginia for between November 1966 and December 1967. The first sightings in 1966 included 5 men who were digging a grave at a cemetery who claimed to see a man-like figure fly low above their heads. Along with the most famous sighting, which is the one you hear about a lot, is the 2 young couples who were believed to be chased by the Mothman in the TNT area, which had become kind of a lover's lane area. Mm-hmm. And that they had described the creature as a large flying man with 10-foot wings and glowing red eyes. So what perpetuated it is that the stories would keep continuing, is that you would see these eyewitness accounts of the Mothman for about a year in Point Pleasant. The last time the Mothman was seen was right before December 1967, where the Silver Bridge collapsed, which ended up killing 46 people. That's why the Mothman has become known as the Harbinger of Doom. The movie Dune, specifically. The harbinger of doom, and that he forewarns of cataclysmic events. I can't speak today.
Some people think that the Mothman actually causes it, but I think that they sense energy building, kind of like the Odd Thomas books, and they come in advance. I don't think they're trying to warn us.
Yeah, it's like an animal. It's like an animal can sense it when a storm's coming.
Right.
They're just drawn to this, and I think that that's what they are. Also, there was a Russian apartment bombing that they were drawn to, and there were reports of Mothman before 9/11.
Yep. See, that was scary. Is I didn't realize that right before 9/11, and there are, if you dig enough into the forums, you see like posts prior to 9/11 where it's like there have been more sightings of the Mothman in like certain areas and stuff.
They were sighted in Oklahoma a couple of years back before those horrible, devastating tornadoes ripped through and like killed all those people. There was like some reports of the Mothman, and so you knew some shit's going down.
If y'all want
and there was some before Katrina spotted in New Orleans. So the Mothman, people see it all the time.
I don't know if y'all have watched the BuzzFeed Unsolved episode about Mothman. It's really good. Y'all should watch it.
Oh, I don't think I've seen that.
I
really
haven't seen it yet.
BuzzFeed Unsolved is great.
I like to listen to BuzzFeed Unsolved at work because you can kind of just listen to it and it's funny and it's informative.
Yeah, the Mothman episode and the Bigfoot episode are both highlights. They're both very funny.
So if you want to check out those, BuzzFeed Unsolved is actually, I know a lot of people hate BuzzFeed, but you can't attribute these guys.
Ryan and Shane are hilarious.
Yeah. These guys are a lot different.
Yeah. So then talking about lizard people, I found something called the Lizard Man of Scape or Swamp.
This is in South Carolina.
It is an entity said to inhabit the swamps of Lee County, South Carolina. First mentioned in the late 1980s by a 17-year-old who claimed that his car was damaged by a green, wet-like, 7-foot-tall creature with 3 fingers, red eyes, and lizard-like skin and snake-like scales.
So I don't know if I believe the 17-year-old. I feel like he was drinking.
No.
And it's
I
like,
think he was trying to get out of trouble.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because his car was damaged.
And they could never verify. He was really the only one who cited this.
Yeah, he said his car was damaged by this green, like, entity. Meanwhile, you probably ran into, like, a fire hydrant drinking too much. So due to the media coverage, the area became a tourist attraction. However, asshole. Anyways, I said asshole instead of after. After a false report of a shooting of one was identified, the reports gradually declined, and law enforcement speculated that the sightings were likely caused by a bear. Now, here's the thing, though. What bothers me is that everything it could be a sea serpent, it could be a lizard-like creature, it could be a Bigfoot. It's apparently a bear.
Yeah.
It's always a bear.
Maybe it's like a bear that has alopecia.
Ooh, okay. All right, I see where you go with this, Bobby.
I mean, it's
making
something.
your own cryptids.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Baldy bear.
There was also a Tahoe Tessie, which also kind of looks like a bear, but I didn't look anything up on that one. But I just like the name Tahoe Tessie. Tahoe Tessie.
That sounds like a really like underground porn star name.
I know. Oh yeah. That's
like
a good point.
The taxi ones where you have to have sex with your taxi driver.
Yeah.
I
forgot my wallet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like casting
I don't know
couch
how
thing.
to play.
I guess I can't pay
said
you. Here's a
play
blow.
instead of
You
pay.
can play.
Or she just starts randomly masturbating in the back seat, and the taxi driver's like, "Oh,
No. Nani?
what's going on here?" Oh.
So then I also wanted to, there's a whole bunch of the Mental Floss did a great article called 16 Cryptids that may or may not exist. I did not include them on this list because
they're mostly from Asia.
Yeah, it's Asia and outside of the United States. Although I do want to talk about the fact that there's a death worm.
Yeah, the Mongolian death worm.
The Mongolian death worm. That's terrifying.
Yes, it's the giant bat one too.
Yeah.
The ahuli.
The ahuli. Yeah. But there are some really cool ones that I can't pronounce. And now that I realize that none of us can pronounce words today, it's better we didn't stick with them. But I did want to, like, as a note.
We're going to just briefly touch on the big feets.
The big feet. The Bigfoot big feet.
Yes.
So there are one in our local area. If you and Bobby want to talk about that.
Well, he's called the Belk Road Booger because booger is an old Southern and Irish phrase meaning monster. If something's a booger, that's where the phrase comes from. Man, that was a real booger to do. It was really awful and monstrous.
Yeah, one of my coworkers claims to have seen Belt Road Booger like the mid 2000s, and like he was coming home from work. He just got off at 1 a.m. Not entirely sure I believe him because he was coming home at 1 a.m. and he was tired, so we don't know. But he claims to have seen him on the side of the road and saw him stand up. The bitch was at least 7 foot tall.
That's what the accounts for Belt Road Booger is that he's about a 7 foot tall creature.
Yeah. So also, if you go this way on Belk Road, like through the woods and stuff over there, you end up at the dump. And he's been spotted a lot in the dump, like roaming around there, and that's why he is crossing Belk Road there, is he's just going from point A to point B. But there's also been a lot of Sasquatch spotted around Happy Valley Circle.
Yeah, he's called the Happy Valley Horror.
Yeah, the Happy Valley Horror. And we're actually on the national website as spotted. And also in Blue Ridge at the Bigfoot Museum, they have the Belk Road Booger listed. Like, he's well documented. And as far as cryptid zoologists are concerned, they believe that he's real. Yeah, along with the dogmen who are here.
Yeah, there's also been accounts from people who live here that it was a hoax because allegedly it happened during Halloween in the 70s, where there was this what it allegedly was somebody had dressed up in this like monkey costume and was running around.
And I know this was true because I told you my dad was one of those kids.
Yeah.
But they dressed up in that costume and did the hoaxes after the Belk Road Booger has already been sighted. Like, it was after the fact, so they just took the legend and made it scary. Right.
So what came first, the hoax or the egg?
The hoax or the cryptid.
The hoax or the cryptic?
The hoax or the hoe.
Cryptig.
Is this like Hooker or cosplay?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's our favorite game of Dragon Con. Hooker or cosplay?
Sometimes you just...
Both.
Yes.
Yes.
Sometimes yes. Sometimes the answer is just yes. And then the one that I found... I have a thing about anything called a skunk ape. So that was pretty funny. So, of course, it's like Florida Man. So, of course, this is out of Florida or Louisiana.
Well, think about, like, your backwater Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, considering he's either called the Swamp Cabbage Man or the Swamp Squatch.
Well, he's not as big, right? He's not as big as the typical Sasquatch. He's a little bit smaller, yeah.
And probably because he lives in the swamp.
Yeah, didn't it? Yeah.
But
he's a swamp squatch.
He is way more foul-tempered, whereas a Sasquatch will tend to leave you alone. The skunk ape, from the stories of people who've run into him, is very foul-tempered and will attack you and run at you. So the woman who first saw him, she actually called, I don't think at the time there was 911, but she called the police department and reported the skunk ape in her backyard. So the police drive out there and they see him and he gets away, but he consistently comes to her house and kills her chicken, just does all sorts of shit, like smears his poo on her door.
Yeah.
Like he just hates her and she shoots at him.
I would shoot at him too.
But she had originally called the police on him because she just wanted him relocated.
Yeah.
You know, I just need him out of my backyard. He's her dogs are barking all night. Her chickens are getting killed. She just wants the wild animal taken away. But then she realizes that he's smarter than a wild animal.
Yeah.
But also the skunk ape, a lot of people also think that they're up in this area because we have the animals out going towards Hogansville out in Corinth, where they call them the dogmen here, but they have the same smell, which is something that we experienced out that night with Aaron when Bobby and them were ghost hunting in the field. And we were standing there and you can smell it. Also that night with Jake, before the sticks smashed together, we smelled that smell.
Great, we could have been killed by dogmen.
Well, that's why I needed to go.
No, that second time I was there, they ain't fucking with me. Not with this hair.
Not with that hair.
Meanwhile, Bobby's the first one with a seatbelt on in the car going,
Whoa.
let's go. You were, Bob's.
I was scared of something completely different besides that.
He was scared of law enforcement.
I was scared of law enforcement.
He's like, we're trespassing right now.
Well, that's why now, whenever we go somewhere, I call the police station and say, we're going to be XYZ.
Yeah.
Most of the time, they're like,
also,
okay, question mark?
Well, to verify we can be there.
Yeah.
And so if they get a call about flashlights and stuff, they don't come shooting us
Flashlights?
thinking yes, flashlight. Did I say flashlight?
No, you said flashlights.
Oh. It's just Bobby out there with his flashlight. It's fine.
But
wouldn't it be funny if it was a flashlight and you just pumped it like it was shine? You know those ones you shake?
You could either be a survivalist or you could be arrested for impublic decency.
Why not both?
Be like, Bobby, just one more time. Your flashlight's dying.
Ew.
Shoots at battery acid.
Oh, my God. But if you ever do want to go looking for cryptids and or ghosts, make sure you let law enforcement know and check to make sure you're not trespassing, because that is either going to be a felony or a misdemeanor.
Well, yeah, and they'll come check on you. So we had them drive by, and they won't interfere, but just make sure you're okay so you don't end up like the Blair Witch people.
Yeah.
And you can call them like you see some shit like, hey, bring your fucking gat with you.
Yeah, I
Got
need
some
you to
shit
come
going.
take this swamp man out. That's some coming at me that smells like cabbage.
Or when I stop to buy cigarettes, you can go to the pawn shop down over here that sells an AR-15 for only $400.
Pretty sure those are supposed to be illegal, but
It looks pretty. The sign looked pretty old, so I know it's accurate anymore. But
yeah. Laws are weird.
Weird.
But yeah.
So, Becky, what's your favorite cryptid?
Goatman, which is considered a legendary creature. I know he hasn't been actually cited, but let me tell you that green text on 4chan, nothing is scarier than reading about what the Goatman could do. Mm-hmm. And apparently he's also, allegedly, the legend of the Goatman is that he was an axe-wielding creature that was a scientist that was experimenting on, being able to create, goat men, and basically created himself to be this, and he went psychotic and started killing people. It's my favorite story. I love stories where people are getting murdered.
Okay.
Mine's the Skinwalker, because that thing's fucking terrifying.
Yes, that's my favorite too.
Yeah.
Skinwalker, we need to do an episode on Skinwalker Ranch. I was listening to the last podcast on the left about Skinwalker Ranch, and I'm pretty sure if you throw a dart at everything that could possibly be paranormal and or related to cryptozoology, it happened at Skinwalker Ranch.
Well, because at Skinwalker Ranch, it's a huge UFO sighting spot.
Yep.
It also has the ley line, and it has, as we discussed, a pyramid and a Stonehenge runs through it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd love to go visit there one day. That'd be sick.
I don't think I would want to stay there though.
No, we just stay there we just go visit her at night, and we don't sleep on the property. We just visit.
Just
at
go
night.
see what happens.
Yeah.
It's like the Bermuda Triangle of a terrestrial part of it.
You know, another thing about the Bigfoots, big feets, Sasquatches, the Sasquatch population is in California has an enormous, the mountains there, they have an enormous Sasquatch sighting.
Oh yeah, the redwoods. Yeah.
Yes, and there's tons of sounds that Sasquatch make. And if you compare from California to Georgia, like at the Bigfoot Museum, it's the same sounds.
Yeah.
So we're talking about a creature that not only spans the country, but the world, because Asia, of course, has the Yeti, which is just like a cousin to the Sasquatch. It would be like wolves and timber wolves.
Yeah.
It's the Asian Sasquatch.
Well, the thing is, and I've said to people, I know a lot of people don't want to believe in the existence of things, but my thing is I'd rather believe in it and not be surprised when it's actually found than not believe it and then be like, oh, shit. So there was a UFO here the entire time or something like that.
We're kind of like the people who didn't believe in the giant squid. How much egg is on your face now that he's washed
Well,
up?
they're probably dead because that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Well, and my thing is with Sasquatch especially, this is the one that has the best chance of being a real thing. It's being a missing link.
Yeah.
If you're gonna
Like that
believe,
movie.
yeah, that's actually really good, but doing poorly at the box office. So I'm kind of sad.
Yeah.
Oh, is it out already?
Yeah, came out.
Well, maybe
this
that's why it's doing poorly. I didn't know it was out.
Yeah, and plus it's right before Avengers Endgame, so everybody's focused
And
on
of
that.
course, Shazam just came out.
Yeah.
And Captain Marvel. You get a lot of.
Nope.
You know what's shocking to me, though, is that parents would take their kids to see Dumbo and not that one. Because Dumbo was probably the singly most traumatizing movie I ever saw when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, God, the whole thing is awful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hate it. I
There
hate
is
that movie.
nothing about Dumbo that you walk away with a good feeling.
You
Yeah.
either get scared, or you run with the racist crows, and what the fuck is this shit?
Well, I ain't ever seen an elephant fly.
Yeah.
Heckle and Jekyll, you gotta love them. Okay, Chuki. That was not...
What's your favorite?
Skinwalker.
Skinwalker.
Yeah. both
Oh.
of ours.
Of course, I love me some Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Big
But-
feats?
Some big feats. However, I would much rather see a Skinwalker than a Sasquatch.
Really? I'd be more.
I mean, I know I'm gonna die.
Yeah.
You know, if you see a Skinwalker, you're probably dead.
Yeah.
But I'm fascinated by the Skinwalker Ranch and the people who said, the wolf would come up and they would feed it, and then one day it got pissed off at them when it attacked their dog, and they rescued the dog, and it just stood up on its back legs and ran into the woods. Just picturing that, just
Kind of funny.
because I'm like, if it's a person, it'll probably let me pet it.
Yeah. Well, my thing with wanting to see Bigfoot instead, if I had to pick, it'd be Bigfoot, because at least I know what I'm dealing with in a way. Skinwalker, I'm like, well,
It could be anything.
exactly.
It could even be you.
Juicy.
That's why I sometimes wonder, is the Goatman a Skinwalker? Because they say Goatman takes on the voices and face. So
yeah, it could be. Who
yeah, is
knows?
he just a wayward Skinwalker?
It's possible.
Hey,
Becky.
What's up?
Tell them where you can find us.
You can find us on
Spotify.
at the Free Rotation Podcast. You can find us on Twitter at the Free Rotation.
Instagram.
We are also on Instagram at the Free Rotation Podcast, and we are also on YouTube and Twitch at the Free Rotation. Did you guys know that if you have an Amazon Prime account, you get 1 free Twitch subscription a month to sub to any of your favorite channels? Feel free to use it on us.
Yeah, fuck Ninja. Subscribe to us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he has enough money. Give us money.
And if you're confused about the Twitch subscription Becky just said, I think she meant Twitch.
Twitch subscription. Twitch subscription. Shut up,
You
Angie.
said it again.
Those who. When are you streaming?
I'm gonna stream tonight.
Oh shit, girl.
I'm streaming a spoopy game called Pacify. I'm lying because this comes out tomorrow. So by the time I listen, it's Wednesday.
No, if they can listen by on Tuesday.
Not usually.
How do you know?
I don't.
You also,
This is pure conjecture.
we are also on Weeby Geeks. We are affiliates of that awesome podcast network. You can check out all the great podcasts
Podcast
over at
network.
WeebyGeeksPC.com. And our backlog is TheFreeRotation.com. You can check out all of our episodes there. We were going to be at the Georgia Bigfoot Conference in a couple of weeks, covering some Bigfoots, big footies.
This is my first question to them. What is the plural of Bigfootses?
So you can check us out there if you happen
And
to
I
be
will
going.
say Bigfoots.
And I will be selling pieces of my hair. Only $1.
I thought you were gonna say you were gonna sell a piece of your ass.
No.
That's
Sell
how he
people
pays
my
for his
house.
$10 ticket.
I mean, I am
Sweet.
single, but I'm not that much of a whore.
Ladies, he's ready to mingle.
Yeah, do you got short hair, tattoos, and piercings? We can work something out.
And if you have a friend, you can bring along.
Ow,
I'm
sure.
just looking out for you, buddy.
Oh, yeah, sure. Bring who you want.
Yeah.
That girl that has a crush on me on Fear the Thing.
Oh yeah.
Fly out here.
Yeah.
Come say hi.
Come say hi.
Yeah.
Just come.
Ah.
Okay, good night.
Good night.
Bye.
Boy.
Free Rotation.